Hi guys, welcome back to the Existential Bed podcast, where I lay on an existential bed and talk about existential things. My name's Natalie, and I'm cold. Welcome to the Existential Bed podcast, where we talk about some things. Do you ever feel like you're scared of being forgotten? I know I am. Or at least I know that is a weakness of mine. I just think, for me, I latch on to certain things and I hold on to them. And I formulate my whole life around these little things I latch onto, whether it be people or things or concepts. I will latch onto them like Velcro or whatever these things that latch onto other things are. Yeah. And when those things I latch onto start to change, I get really scared. And most of the time I shut down. Lots of the time I freak out. Lots of the time I have a meltdown. I had a meltdown 2 weeks ago, maybe, when something messed up my routine and I paced around the room for maybe an hour, and then I collapsed on the floor because of all the different emotions running through my head. And that change especially feeds into this fear of being forgotten to the world, and this sort of lack of permanence in the world. I think I definitely turned to art because of that. I turned to poetry and silly videos and music and sort of, I guess, ways to remind myself of the mark I'll leave on this world. But in a way, they also remind me that I don't need to leave a mark. It's perfectly fine if I'm just here and then I leave. There's no rule against it. That's just life. I think the whole idea of queer death, of when you're, I think it's a big thing within the queer community and queer creatives to sort of not let your identity be forgotten to history and the world. Maybe it's this sort of shared trauma over, like, historically these identities have been erased and rewritten over. There's so many different stories of these, like, very queer stories, and they were written over, and maybe because we see that, we want to sort of take initiative and not be defined by others. And not only to be defined by others, but to assert your identity and assert your pride within it. And assert your existence. Because while it's not required to leave a lasting mark on this world, it's important when you're queer, I feel, especially, like, at least it feels like to, like, creatives, because you want to leave a lasting mark of the existence of your queerness on the world, in a world that has not acknowledged this existence for a very long time. So I think that's why a lot of queer art, especially, is about death and legacy and perception. Like, there's lots of media about, you know, this queer person dying, and we have to, like, remember, whatever. I recently watched a play called She Kills Monsters, and spoiler for the play, by the way, maybe I won't say too much, but basically, actually, this isn't spoilers, but basically, well, okay, it kind of is, it's spoilers, but it's very obvious. But that play definitely got me thinking in the past few months, because in the play there is heavy themes of sort of, like, queer death and making sure that people know who I was. And I think I do a lot of that with my music, I guess. Like, not only do I put it out there and present it in a certain way, but also I feel like I definitely affirm its meaning a lot. I don't just put it out there, and then, like, let it roam wild. I give it a place to stay, sort of. And I think a lot of other gay creatives are like that too, where you just sort of, you need, like, one of your drives and urges to create is not just to leave a lasting impact on this world, but to make others aware of your identity and impact on the world. Which I guess isn't necessarily including only queer people, but it covers a large demographic, I would say. But anyways, I bring this topic up because I think I realize I do have, like, I struggle with attachment issues. I don't know if that's how I am or if there's something else going on, but when I latch on to certain people, I become overly attached, I would say. And at that point, it makes me sick to be detached, even just for a little bit. It's not healthy, I will say. I think people who know me, they are always surprised at how fast of a responder to texts I am. I will respond within like the minute almost, but more like within 5 minutes, because I keep checking my phone a lot, even if like I know nothing important would happen during this time. But I am so anxious that like someone I care about is like calling out and I didn't respond too fast. And I don't even know why I need to respond fast. But I do anyways. And now it's just a weird thing I do. I respond very quickly to things. But going back to the topic about change, sometimes I feel like when my routine or comfort things, when they get disrupted, I sort of start to freeze and push myself away as sort of a defense mechanism, which doesn't make sense, since shouldn't you be pulling what you're holding on to back to you? I don't know. All I know is that when there's stress and it's linked to certain people, I push them away a lot, when in reality I need to keep those closer in order to not go crazy, I guess. And in junior year, I stopped talking to one of my friends, and it was like a mutual thing, and it was gradually over a little bit of time, but we connected later, and we connected later and we realized that we pushed each other away for no reason. So pushing the things you're attached to is not healthy, I feel. It's better to sort of be aware of your attachment and manage it accordingly. One of the lyrics I have in my songs, like a reoccurring lyric, is "Don't leave me," which I know everyone leaves eventually, but it's a matter of who we can hold on to. Life happens, people change, schedules conflict, and even if I hate change, if I try to push it away and run away, it'll be way worse than if I just accepted the change. I'm very bad at handling change, especially when it comes to an important part of my daily routine. And sometimes I feel when it gets disrupted, I am not able to function, which is not good. What else did I want to say? I wanted to say so much of art is about our permanence, I feel. So much of art is about, will we be remembered in like 2 months? What am I saying? We reached the point of the podcast where I'm almost falling asleep and I can't finish my sentences because I'll forget what they're saying. But I almost fell asleep right there.